keep telling you that we are reactionary people. When we jump over a hurdle, we tend to forget about everything that has happened. And if you look at state institutions, obviously they are the basic or the fundamental framework of our constitution. And we've always argued that every democracy requires strong and robust institutions in order to be effective. And we as citizens, we are the sentinels destined to protect the infrastructure of this democracy. So it is our job at any point in time to ensure that the machinery of government will operate in a direction that goes in our favor. It's the reason why the framers thought it wise to give power to average and ordinary Ghanaian, the power to petition the president, go through processes as outlined Article 146 for the removal of either the Chief Justice or any other person in that particular category. So the petition was submitted by an ordinary Ghanaian who was peeved about the state of play at the time and the conduct of the commissioners, and based on that, the petition was submitted to the president, who subsequently forwarded to the Chief Justice. We are not privy to the content of the petition, and it is the reason why I cannot criticize the Chief Justice, because I'm not privy to what exactly the content of the petition actually were. But the fact of the matter is that if I flip you back to happenings in this particular country, I think that Jane Mensah and her team, their conduct over the years endangered the prospect of our democracy, and that is a fact. And they've committed several constitutional atrocities against the people of this country. Especially, my brother made mention of the people of SAR. Yes, that is a crime against constitutionality, and there is no way that particular injustice can be rationalized within any frame. How a whole constituency, a community, were disenfranchised, they were cut off, and for 4 good years they did not have any.
How on earth is that the fault of Jane Mensah when we had a government and a Minister of Justice?
But the EC is responsible for such demarcation, and that particular directive came from the Electoral Commission, I think a day before the election. You understand? So clearly, I don't want to go beneath the malice behind some of these things just to ensure that particular candidate won the particular election. But the fact of the matter is that that was an illegality. Something that is going to be like a scar that will be on the conscience of our democracy for a very long time. That was a deliberate decision taken, but subsequent to that...
Are you sure that the people of SAL are not over this? That, well, they have gone over what happened?
It's not about them. It is about us as people. Because if this thing had happened elsewhere, aside SAR, maybe the outcome would have been something different. So we can go to Bantuma tomorrow and say, oh, these people, we are cutting them off, they are not going to have a representation. So you understand? So the fact that it has happened somewhere and the people have decided not to complain doesn't make it right. You understand? I think this is a cardinal sin against our constitution and our democracy of this particular country. And I was expecting that. That is why I'm saying I don't know whether portions of the petition captured this particular thing. And again, the excesses and the belligerence of the Electoral Commission over the years has been quite dirty, especially look at the IPAC. IPAC has always been a platform where political parties engage to dialogue. It got to a point where they enlisted toy parties and jokers to go there and vote. You understand? Oh yes, toy parties and some other jokers just go there, and then issues that are very sensitive, where you expect men of conviction to sit, analyze issue, and come to a broader conclusion that will help the people of this country. These toy parties were enlisted, then they turned out to some sort of an election platform where these toy parties go to vote on the issues. And at the end of the day, key issue that were supposed to be discussed, an outcome or coming to a resolution that will help the people of this country, those things were left behind. But we are privy to the tug of war between the EC boss and Asante Bediatuo when she accused him of having stirred him a whole lot of controversy, that kind of stuff. And again, there was this registration exercise which the Electoral Commission decided to limit to district offices, which raised a lot of concerns in this particular country. Even 5 political parties dragged the Electoral Commission to court. Unfortunately, the court decided to give them a date post the execution of that particular process. You understand? And in that particular process, have you sat down to quantify or enumerate the number of people who could have missed that particular opportunity? Because you sit in Accra and you think that you can just take trotro and go to a registration center. If you go to the northern part of this country, sometimes you need to travel several kilometers to the district to have your name captured and registered. You understand? So just imagine somebody who doesn't have money to have to travel all the way, and there is no guarantee guarantee that going there, you'll be captured on that particular day. You understand? So for me, we are here because Ghanaians, we have decided to nurture and protect our democracy in order not to veer off. Sometimes we try to be very tolerant, you understand? But I think that the actions and the inactions of this group of people occupy the Electoral Commission today did not engender confidence, did not engender trust at the time, and now I'm not sure they inspire that trust and confidence.
Let me ask you one more question before I bring in Sulu. Do you accept the outcome of the 2024 elections?
2024 election was so overwhelming to the stand that there was no way anybody could have. That's not my question. No. I do accept. It was so overwhelming. It was so overwhelming. There was nothing anybody could have done.
Who was the chairperson of the Electoral Commission during the 2024 election?
Where was she? Like, you said, where was she?
Who was the chairperson?
Oh, that's to say, let us not change the narrative. It doesn't change her since in 2020. And even the electoral outcome in 2020. Let's go back to 2020. Okay. Just like the guy, my brother said. Yes. How many outcomes did the Electoral Commission give us?
No, I get that. But do you accept the outcome?
That would justify the stated misbehavior and incompetence. The law doesn't say whether I agree or not. The law says that stated misbehavior and incompetence. And for me, the declaration of the 2020 election alone is enough justification to warrant the activation of that constitutional clause for her removal. And again, let's come back to the just ended 2024 elections. Yes. The election day. The NDC as a political party were so quick enough to put their figures together. The MPP were quick enough to put their figures together. Yes. It took Bawumia's intervention to save us from the sort of tension that was cooking on the Sunday.
Which tension?
Oh, yes. Because on the day, the NDC were done, the MPP were done. The Electoral Commission at the time had not even put a single figure together.
For her to declare.
And her justification was that, if you go to the polling station, Metro Man and other people have besieged the place, they could not have access to the figures. That was sort of a weak and a lame kind of
But I'm asking you, you haven't answered my question. Who was the chairperson of the Electoral Commission?
Jane Mensah. It doesn't.
Do you accept the outcome of the 2020?
Yes, I do.
So is that not a reflection that indeed she's capable of delivering?
No. So the mistake we do is that these are sensitive state institutions. So it is not just about what you do. It is about the conduct and the sort of impression people have. You think countries get into electioneering warfare because they disagree with the outcome of the election? No, there is this preconceived kind of impression they develop that this person cannot be fair, and that alone can trigger any sort of this.
So that's where the Chief Justice is saying there's no basis. Which clear evidence do you have to say that?
I'm saying that we can pardon the Chief Justice because you and I are not privy to the content. So I'm urging Ghanaians to write a lot more petition to the president.
Really?
Yeah, oh yes, they should, because these people they lack the intellectual wit to sit there operating as AEC bosses, and because they lack it, to be very honest with you, because amidst of tension, how we even deal with people. There was a time there was a contention in this particular. One gentleman among them called Tete. Look at the sort of language he was using on various airways, insulting everybody. There was a time Bosman Asare told the NDC in the face that the party was a threat to Ghana's democracy. And this is a deputy EC boss. No, you can't say that. You cannot say that. Even if I have said that in the past, you cannot come back and play Electoral Commission as a neutral arbiter operating elections in this particular country. You understand? So for me, they have clearly misconducted themselves. They don't deserve to be there. And if any subsequent petition will come up, I will go for it. I'm disappointed that it turned out this way. And we are they are also looking at the other side of it. The Chief Justice had the benefit of reading through the petition. Maybe all these
this is just 7 for now. I understand there's the others.
Yeah, others will go, because for Jane Mensah and her deputy, there is a bag full of petition that will be submitted. That is a fact, because people are peeved. And I'll be very disappointed if the people of SAR allow this thing to slide without any reaction. I'm expecting that the chief and the people should petition the president, and they will have a legitimate grounds for the removal of the Electoral Commissioner. And again, back to the OSP.
We'll come to the OSP. I want us to
that is a
deal with. No, it's all tied to it, by the way. But I want us to clear the EC people and then we deal with.
Oh, for the OEC, my disappointment is quite clear. For me, I am not looking at just the 2024 election. I am looking at the conduct
2020
over the years. Because if the Constitution says stated misbehavior and incompetence, I think there are enough grounds for them because they have demonstrated clearly that they are not competent. You understand? And the competence isn't about whether the election was fair or not. It is about how do you manage relationship among the various actors? If you go to the IPAC, these are critical stakeholders in our election.
Yeah, but IPAC is not a constitutional creation.
Yes, I'm saying it's a convenient platform that we've all created for dialogue's sake, in order not to drive ourselves into an arena of long-lasting litigation. We have come out with this particular platform to engage, to discuss. But it got to a time, it was no longer a platform for dialogue. It was a platform for voting, where these toy parties were enlisted in. And then the
toy party.
If you don't have an office outside Accra, you're not a toy party. Yeah, a toy party.
Which of the parties do you know?
A lot of them you can mention. And some of the flag
whose party?
A lot of them you can mention. Leave it to your listeners to you understand. So I think that we need to get serious in this country. Personally I have nothing against Mensa and Bossman Asare, but I think that the office they occupy is so sensitive, because if you go around the world, you see that there is this violent incursion of extremism that is traveling around. The major cause of some of these things has to do with electoral misunderstanding and electoral malfeasances. You understand? When people feel agitated and they realize that the system cannot cater for them, then they transform themselves into this sort of guerrilla sort of this thing that we very often see. You understand? So we are lucky. That is what I'm telling you. That we Ghanaians, we are very lucky because we are not interested in those sort of. But if it happened to be maybe in a different country, that would have been a different scenario altogether. So let us not downplay this and say, no, that because they've been cleared, it means that the Electoral Commission is... No. They have committed a crime against the constitution of this country by denying the people of SAR that constitutional representation for 4 good years and several other stuff that we can mention. You understand? I don't want to go into the procurement and other, because that will give us a headache. I don't want to go into that, but these are the clear indications for me. I think they will qualify for the stated misbehavior. Okay,
and just as you can see on the screens, there's the OSP in the mix. We'll talk about him shortly. But Solo, I want us to deal with the EC individuals. You went into the 2024 elections.
Yes.
Your candidate lost fair and square. You agree that that was a true reflection of the election, its outcome, and whatever decision was made, you accept it in good faith. It clears these individuals, isn't it?
Even if you contest an election in this country, you will not get 31,000, left alone Alan Chomati. So if anybody is saying that what took place in 2024 was a true reflection as what really happened, then that person must be living in a fool's paradise. We have evidence to the extent that people that voted for Alan, those polling stations, they recorded 0. So we don't want to go there. And I
Solo. I mean, what you're saying is very new. But you remain silent ever since the 2024 elections.
Remember, I just heard my brother from the Kennedy camp telling me that our agents were there. Our agents. You see, when we make every statement I make here is based on fact. In 2024, first of all, Mr. Alan Chomati contested as an independent candidate. He didn't contest on the ticket of any political party. Now, the letters that he signed for all his prospective agents, they were denied. All of them were denied. All of them. But you see, after elections, we tend to forget a lot of things. I have developed an attitude to respect the constitution of the land. And that is why this morning, I am not going to be very hard on the Electoral Commissioner. Because what it is that people submitted petitions. I should have also submitted mine. Unfortunately, I did not.
That's why I'm surprised you're saying this now.
Yes, I did not.
Are you saying that what Alan got in the 2024 elections
it can never represent what Alan got. Quote me anywhere, read my lips, look, posterity will judge.
Will judge who?
Will judge those. No, it's not that UP is going to contest election 2028.
I know.
But you see, UP did not contest election 2024.
Okay, it was Alan.
It was an independent candidate. But in let's say 2028, let any man born of a woman attempt this.
So are you telling me that Alan got more than the votes he got?
My goodness.
No, I mean, how do we believe?
But you see,
you don't have any evidence to that.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
The evidence abounds. There is a prophet who traveled all the way from the UK to come and vote for Alan. Yeah. He has been cursing the electoral commission since that day. He has been cursing every day. If you can call him for you, he has been cursing. The very police station he voted for
Alan got
zero.
Maybe the angels came to take the ballot.
Maybe. Yeah. But those angels will flash out those that did that. But you see...
So, no, this is a national platform.
It's a national platform. I'm giving you the reality. The reality of the day. You understand?
So, Alan's vote was stolen.
Stolen, more than stolen. Remember, and you see, I keep hearing, maybe I've taken my time to go through why or the reasons the Electoral Commission gave for their inability to organize parliamentary elections in the Guan or the South. Yeah. I believe that on the basis of that, election 2024, we must put the blame squarely at the doorsteps of President Akufo Addo and Aaron Michael Quay, the Speaker of Parliament. See, this was how they did it. They deliberately waited till the 6th of October 2022 and marked these dates.
Okay.
You know, before a district is created, it has to be done by the local government ministry. They waited to submit the LI 2416 to Parliament on the 6th of October 2020. Now that LI matured on the 9th of November 2020. Get the dates. We vote. We vote on the 7th, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, when it matured on the 9th of October 2020, the local government ministry wrote to the Electoral Commission on the 10th of November 2022 draft an LI that will enable the creation of the Guam constituency. So they did that on the 13th of November.
Right.
Now, when you file or when you submit an LI to Parliament, it has 21 days
to mature.
So we are talking about the 13th of November, and then 21 days for it to mature to enable one constituency to vote.
Right.
Guess what? Parliament went on recess on the 9th of November. And make no mistake that it was there because Parliament has the power, the Speaker has the power to call them back
to sit.
Yeah. So that LI will mature for a constituency to be created. So it was a deliberate strategy from the New Patriotic Party to deny the Guam constituency, and the EC also fell in line. They all became part of the...
And that's what I was telling Ivan. How then do you blame G Mensa for this?
That's the point. That's all. Yeah. There they have a lifeline to save themselves.
Yeah.
So you can easily put the blame at the doorsteps of the president, because it's the president that appoints the minister, sector minister, and Parliament. Professor.
So if that's the case, no amount of petition from either the South people or their chiefs will
not suffice.
It will not work.
With the South issue, it will not work because the chronology of events, as I have seen, as I have read, puts the blame on the president and the speaker, and not the EC. However, the EC has a lot of issues or questions to answer. Remember the issue of Pusiga. 138 names were transferred from the Tamale Central and Sanarigu to Pusiga. When they had told us they had a software or an app called the liveliness or whatever that prevented the occurrence of such situation. Yet it happened. I mean, recently what happened at Pandai? People take the decision of the High Court for granted. But whether we like it or not, the High Court actually tried the matter. It came to the conclusion that indeed the election was rigged for Nyenam.
Yeah, but that's no longer standing.
No, the Supreme Court. It is the technicalities of it that has disabled the rerun of the place, not the substantive. Because remember, the MPP did not go to the Supreme Court to challenge the substantive matter. They went there on the point of technicality that you were bad at the time that you went to court. Yeah. That does not negate what the High Court has said. So to Mamba, you have rigged an election, but because of technicalities, but who would aid that? Wasn't no Electoral Commission officers? The returning officer over there, he was recruited by the Electoral Commission. So now you go to Ablekumanov.
Okay.
What necessitated the rerun of Ablekumanov? What about in Sawam? What about Obuasi East? So the mere fact that they have been given a lifeline, I believe in the lifeline. I mean, once the Chief Justice, I don't know, just like Ivan was saying, I don't also have the details of the petitions.
Okay, so since we don't know the details of the petition, and you guys believe that something ought to be done, will the UP join any petition? Because you're making allegations now, no, and if I heard you right, that even your leader, who stood as an independent candidate in the last elections, was denied of his votes.
I believe.
Would UP support or send any petition for calling for the removal of?
I believe that the Electoral Commission, that is the Commission and her deputies, have been handed a lifeline to right the wrongs of yesterday. If they are going to take a cue from it, they must not underestimate the petitions that were sent.
Okay.
They must rather use the petitions to revitalize or change their ways.
So we forgive them.
I mean, if they are going to adhere to renewing their mindset towards the job, that's fine. At the end of the day, I am not interested in becoming an electoral commissioner. Maybe you are.
You want to appoint me?
Maybe, but I am not ever interested. So it means I am not interested
in the job.
In the job. All we want is that there has to be fairness. Yeah. Because in the election, before you sign on to contest any elections, you know there are two outcomes, or possibly mostly it's two. Yeah. Either you win or you lose. So losing an election is not anything that is strange. But where you lose based on people's machinations, that is what brings a lot of confusion around the place. You restrict registration to districts. When you know very well that it's very difficult, what are you trying to achieve? Yeah. You understand? Yeah. You allowed minors to register. All these things does not help our body politic. And that is why I believe that if more people are going to send petitions, fine. But if the status quo is going to remain, then they must renew their mindset about the job.
I was going to come to you. So which means that Solo disagrees with you that, well, it's all gone now. Let's forgive these individuals. Let's give them a lifeline so they are able to to make things right, at least.
I can understand. That is who we are. Let's give to God Republic. That is why we are where we are. You understand? But you see, on the culpability of the Electoral Commission in this Shah kind of brouhaha, you see, creation of a constituency is first envisaged by the Electoral Commission. Okay. Parliament only gives it legitimacy. You understand? So if you look at the grounds for the removal of Chief Justice, for the removal of EC boss, it is not a criminal case where you need to prove beyond reasonable doubt, not even on the balance of probability. Right. All you need to do is to prove misconduct, stated misbehavior, and incompetence. And it was their job to have envisaged the possibility that the processes as was being outlined at the time could exclude a constituency or a whole community from the voting. That makes you culpable. You understand? So for me, the culpability of the Electoral
So you believe that the substance of the matter does not change anything?
It doesn't change anything.
Once you disenfranchise a group of people.
That is it. And that is why I'm saying that is a cardinal sin against the Constitution, against the people of this country, and against the flag of this country. And such a crime cannot go unpunished. And again, on the issue of the Electoral Commission, on confidence and trust that public repose in the institution, that is very key. Because state institutions, the very moment citizens withdraw their trust, that entity becomes useless.
Are you not being high-handed?
Okay.
Here's the thing. Say I'm an EC chairperson, just as Solo wants me to be.
Yes.
And then
I'll give you that.
and then I file a CI or whatever terms it is that I ought to place before Parliament to allow for the creation of a SAL area or constituency for the votes. Then Parliament fails to do its job of ensuring that those people get a constituency. How then does that become my sin?
No, you see. So are you saying that if Parliament had failed to give some sort of parliamentary legitimacy to all the constituencies in this country going up to the elections, the Electoral Commission would have sat aloof. That would have meant they should have abdicated their job, you understand? So it is your constitution. That is why I say it is a sacred constitutional duty. You liaise with agencies.
Just as the Electoral Commission is independent.
Yes.
Parliament is supreme and independent too.
Exactly.
They cannot be controlled by the Electoral Commission.
But the earlier, when the Electoral Commission earlier envisaged to create that particular constituency, that envisage, they did include the four constituencies. The decision was taken earlier, even before it went to Parliament, because I am not sure Parliament deliberately excluded those constituencies. That wasn't part of the plan earlier, you understand? And also, trust and confidence is key. What I'm saying is that if you go back to Techiman, where individuals were shot in a short range, why people besieged the area? Because they did not trust the Electoral Commission, you understand? Because when trust and confidence in state institutions become a bit shaky, people will want to be there to observe things for themselves.
You haven't demonstrated to me how this is the scene of Jane Mensah or her deputies, either boss.
That is what I'm saying.
It will be difficult to prove.
That is what I'm saying. We are not proving a criminal case where you need to prove beyond reasonable doubt. Not even on the balance of probability.
I get your point.
All that we need to prove is that these people have misconducted themselves. And that by reason of not making them believable.
I get the point, but I'm asking
by demonstrating lack of confidence, lack of trust on the part of the people, that I cannot subscribe to the AC in terms of trust.
So how do we get that threshold? That's my question, because how are you going to say that, well, it was because Jane Mensah didn't send the documents to Parliament. That's how come SAR was not created.
No, so it is aggregation of all the things that has been done over the years.
And in this case,
that is where I'm basing my argument.
They submitted the documents. Parliament failed to.
No. That I'm saying we need to go back to the beginning and look at how they envisaged the creation of that particular constituency. Even if Parliament had misconducted themselves in any way, EC is an independent, how do you call it, institution. Post the election, something could have been done to ensure those people were roped in somewhere, you understand? They sat down for 4 years. Nobody did a thing, you understand that? And it was back and forth. I'm saying these are constitutional sins. Once you allow those things to occasion, it becomes unforgivable. But we are here today because we live in a republic where everything must be given to God. And it's the reason why we are still stuck where we are, you understand? So for me, I think that despite the fact that the Chief Justice has vindicated, it's not even vindication because, like I'm saying, I don't even know the content of the petition. For all the noise we are making, it could be that some of the petition were full of.
It could be something else. Not the style, not the creation.
It could even be full of nonsense, you understand, which will not give the Chief Justice.
Are you not running away from the SAR issue?
No. But my point is that I am urging the people of SAR to take this particular matter up because they own the duty to their generation yet to come and the young people there to prove a point that no Electoral Commission, because if we allow this thing to slide, subsequently it can happen. It can repeat itself because there's going to be a precedent. It was done to the people of SAR and they got away with it.
The point we are making, we must not lose lose the point that it is the local government ministry that has to submit the LI to Parliament. Without the submission of the LI to Parliament, the Electoral Commission cannot do anything. Now they submit. That's why I started by saying that we must put the blame at the doorstep of President Akufo Addo. What is the president that appoints the sector minister?
You are just interested in President Akufo Addo.
Oh, but he did that. He appointed Damboche. But if he had instructed his sector minister to do what is right, why did they wait?
So are you referring to before the 2020 election or post the elections?
No, 2020 elections.
Before the 2020 elections?
Yes.
Okay.
Before the 2020, I'm giving you chronology.
You're saying that the president should have planned for the country.
They knew it. It's deliberate. Look, they waited till the 6th of October 2020 before they submitted LI 2416, which had to do with the creation of the one constituency. Now, when that LI matured on the 9th of November 2020, then on the 10th, the local government ministry wrote to the Electoral Commission. So between that time, if the Electoral Commission had waited, maybe say 2 weeks, then you can go after them that deliberately you did not submit. But they did it on the 13th.
I see.
And Parliament, and I had roped in Speaker Michael Kwe, because he also had a duty to make sure that he recalled them from recess, because they were in recess.
See.
So in such circumstances, it will be very difficult to nail
The EC chairperson.
But the EC chairperson had deputies have other matters that we can nail them with.
Okay.
No, sir.
And no, sir. Sammy MP is joining us. John Darko, good morning to you. And also,
good morning.
Deputy Director Elections for the National Democratic Congress, Rashid Tanko Computer. When we were speaking earlier this week, you were certain that all of the petitions we've seen so far, none of them has come from either a member of the NDC or the party itself. But your chairman's position that you want them to go still remains.
Very well. Let me say good morning to you and my co-panelists here and the viewership across the globe. We still maintain our position and we stand by our chairman. Despite the dismissal of the petition sent. Mind you, the petition did not come from the NDC. The NDC has not petitioned the president to remove the Electoral Commission. Neither any of our members has tendered in a petition that the commissioner should go. So these petitions that were dismissed have nothing to do with the NDC. It has not changed in the position of the NDC. We still stand by our position.
The question is, if you've had as many as 7 petitions, what else would the NDC have that these EC chairpersons will not survive?
The NDC is a corporate entity. It's a political party.
Yeah.
Yes, we have our own thinking. And we know this is not the first time we've been talking about this Electoral Commission.
Yeah.
This Electoral Commission, had it not because of NDC, we wouldn't have this democracy that we have currently. I'm telling you.
Really?
Oh, by 2023, this Electoral Commission had destroyed our democracy. We had to stand our feet. Were you not in this country? Seeing the Electoral Commission using coral draw to fix figures, have you ever heard that thing before? Do you know coral draw?
But you accepted the outcome.
Who accepted which outcome? Master, were you not in this country?
But you accepted the outcome.
I'm saying that we had to stand on our feet and face them and make the whole world to see who they are. You remember there was a meeting we held, IPAC meeting. We started at 4 p.m. and ended at 12 midnight. Have you ever heard that story before? We were in this country. They were holding me and holding them at that IPAC meeting. Where you have a register and you can't tell us the total number of people registered in this country, and you are giving me a register. Have you seen that thing before? This is the time of Electoral Commission we're dealing with, where they came and said we are presenting registered to political parties. Yet they didn't have summaries. They couldn't tell us how many people were in that register. They couldn't even tell us how many people were transferred to which region and with that. And they were expecting NDC at that time to take the register and go. We were working on our head. We stood our grounds and said, no, we're not going to accept this. So the meeting ended inconclusive on that day. And that's how the Ghana democracy survived that night. Do you know that you rig election before the voting day? Do you know that? That's our business. I'm saying, you see, in a serious democracy, if you are not smart, elections are rigged about 3 months before the election day. For the D-Day is just, it's like you are coming to eat.
Votes, yeah.
They have finished the election. This EC had planned to rig the election long, somewhere around.
And what's your evidence when you say that?
We have shown them. We have presented the evidence.
What's the
I'll
evidence?
give you the evidence.
So
when you started moving people from one location to another with the other knowledge, what were you doing? You are voting in here. Your polling station is here, Joy Prime. And then on D-Day, you come to vote and they tell you your vote is in Bolga. Can you fly to Bolga and vote on that day? Today, can you travel from here to Bolga and vote? Is it possible?
But who transferred the votes?
Electoral Commission, didn't you see it?
But
didn't they admit it? They came on public, admitted it, and
the Electoral Commission,
and even sacked some people.
Rashid, technically speaking, the Electoral Commission of Ghana is different from Jean Mensa and the 2 deputies.
Who are the leaders? Who people make the policies? Who chairs the commission? What are we talking about? They sit down and plan the thing. They recruit people to come and implement it. I said, they recruit. You know what we call collateral damage? Responsibility. If I'm heading an institution and something happened in that institution, the first person to arrest is me. You are the head. For the first time since 1992, have you ever had people manning a whole institution with cameras? Wait, anytime I go for IPAC meeting, you know how they search me. Wait, I'm coming. They will search you from the entrance up to the IPAC hall. Say, collect your camera, because cameras are all over the place. You know that. Somebody managed to steal gadgets. which were in their votes. Up to now, we are still tracking to see who stole those laptops and DVDs. They said they arrested some madman. It was a very funny story they were just trying to put out. This EC, it's only God who saved us in 2024 because of eagle eyes.
Constitutionally speaking, where do you place? Rashid, where do you? Because you have to work with the Constitution. You may say all of these things, but where do you place your fault against the chairperson and the deputies?
We haven't sent our petition.
That's what you keep saying. You've been telling me ever since.
That's what I'm telling you. We haven't. But I'm just giving you a periphery of what you and I know. I'm not even telling you. You know it. That even the fact that an EC conducted a district assembly election and did a tot. For the first time, polling stations, ballot papers were shot. And you know the number. If 100 people are voting at the polling station, you put 5% addition because of spoilage and other things. Are you getting it? So you print 100 plus 5% of the total registered voters. Do you get that? And send it to the polling station. And EC will print this ballot papers and it will get shot at that polling station. What type of EC is that? Tell me, what they are thinking? The point.
In all of these elections that you're pointing to,
what are you talking about?
The stakeholders have accepted the outcome.
I'm saying that, you see, the thing is that this is the thing, we force them to do the right thing.
Rashid, did you accept the outcome of the 2020 elections?
2020
elections?
We didn't accept it.
But
we went to court.
Eventually you accepted the outcome.
No.
But you did.
We went to court. Was Madam Jean Mensah cross-examined?
No, but you accepted the outcome of...
Who accepted it? We didn't.
No, but you accepted the decision of the court.
No, we accepted it, but we disagree.
Yes, so you accept.
That's a different matter.
Okay, 2024.
2024, we stood our grounds. We said we were going to the election.
Yes.
And we were going to face two opponents. Our first opponent was Electoral Commission.
Okay, but
in the 2024.
But 2024.
And the second opponent was MPP.
Do you agree that John Mahama was the winner of the election?
Yes, by the people verdict, public verdict.
Yeah, so who supervised that election?
They had nothing to do but to declare it. This was the Electoral Commission, which was hypnotizing and going around. By 10 p.m., they didn't even have figures.
Why are you picking and choosing?
I will not pick and choose because they know what they were doing.
The 2024 elections.
Yes.
That it was this same Jean Mensah and her deputies who delivered that victory for you.
I'm saying that in 2024, when we were going into the election, we went in with a mindset that we had two opponents, not one opponent. In 2020, we had one opponent. That's why we lost the election. Our only opponent was MPP. And with the 2024 election, we said, no, we have seen that we are going to this election with two opponents. The first one is Electoral Commission. We are going to target them and make sure that all their rigging machinery, we are going to destroy it. And we did. Led by Dr. Mahamadu Bawumia, we were able to expose them big time. The first one was the register. Yeah. You saw how they were doing the
whatever the case, you accepted the outcome of the 2024.
Yes, because the public were moving along with us and seeing the reality. The public themselves came up publicly for the first time. People were seeing that their names were being transferred from one police station to another. We stood our grounds and exposed them. That, hey, do you know what they are doing? They've started moving people. And I just gave you an example. You know what happened at Boku at that time. You know what happened in Bono East. Mass exodus of people without their knowledge. So now we'll be sitting here thinking I'm voting at Prime. On election day, December 7th, you come and say, oh, your name is not here. You have been transferred to Bolga Central. They need to have disenfranchised you. They know what they were doing.
Did that happen in the 2024 election?
A lot, plenty.
People went to the polling station and
I said we saw it and we stopped it.
No,
they came out and apologized. Didn't we stop them?
No, but I'm asking you, did it happen in the election that someone went to the polling station and couldn't find their name?
Then congratulate NDC for that.
Yeah, I get that, but I'm saying, but
so
in the election it never happened.
That's why it's a process.
That's why I told you that you rig election before the election day. That's one thing people don't understand. So when you see us juggling each other on the voting day, we are just wasting our time. The thing is being done already. Gerrymandering. If you gerrymander in the register, and make sure that you offload your opponents from their stronghold to another place.
So give me specifics.
I've given you specific.
Where was the gerrymandering? When did it happen in the 2024 elections?
Oh, I'm giving you that. The DD, don't talk about the DD. I am giving you an example that they started doing this gerrymandering. We caught them red-handed.
So it never happened?
Congratulate NDC for that. NDC had to save your democracy.
So Jean Mensah did not do any gerrymandering because you saved the process.
What are you talking about?
That's what you're saying.
You know what called dereliction of duty? In law, the Constitution talk about this matter. Dereliction of duty is a serious crime.
That's why I'm saying that you are picking and choosing.
We are not picking and choosing. We are just saying it as it is. Interestingly enough, we are not the only people. Even their bedfellows, which is the MPP, they came out and said they don't even trust the judgment of the EC.
The NPP did?
Oh, didn't you hear it? Their General Secretary addressed press conference, said, left to him, now what they are seeing with this EC, they are not also fit for purpose. They won't even support them anymore.
Wow.
The MPP,
the General Secretary?
The General Secretary of the MPP. He also came out and said it. So for the first time, it's like there was a unanimity between NDC and MPP about the conduct of this electoral commission. When our national chairman said it, people thought it was coming from NDC. Interestingly, now within a week or two, the MPP also held press conference, lambasted them and said they were not fit for purpose.
Wow.
And therefore they were not going to support them. So the issue about this EC is not from even NDC. We have our issues. Even MPP too, they have issues against them. But interestingly, we are running a constitutional democracy. And we have a president who respects the Constitution. This issue that came out, we have to congratulate His Excellency John Dramani Mahama for not doing anything about this. Just allow the process to go through and allow the judiciary to function.
He didn't have a choice, did he?
Oh, who said he didn't have a choice? Are you not in this country? 8 years, we're in this country. Which president didn't have a choice? Didn't you see what was going on at the Supreme Court? Didn't you see, even to the extent a national security minister had to warn the Chief Justice and his people that this type of ruling you are doing this, it's not in our interest. Change your style of ruling. Why not in this country? Kandapa, he said those things. What were they talking about? Is it not the unanimous decision they were doing all along? And he said it threatened national security. So we didn't have a choice. So the president respects the Constitution and said, look, the Chief Justice has done it. If you look at Article 146(3), it is not the president who determined the prima facie. It is the Chief Justice. So he is just a conveyor belt. He sent the thing to the Chief Justice. The man has assessed it and think that there's no issue against them. And the president said, let it go.
Okay.
And so these things we are talking about,
all right.
Now democracy is working in this country, where the arms of government are all functioning independently. Nobody is interfering in anything.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean that, look, because this petition has been dismissed, nobody can bring a petition. Today, if somebody bring another petition, and the president look at the petition and thinks that the Chief Justice will look at it, he will forward it again.
So more will come?
That's why I'm saying that it's for Ghanaians.
Okay, not for the NDC.
The NDC will also have our own views.
Will you bring it?
Wait.
All right.
We haven't gotten there yet.
John, let me hear from you. Because Rashid is just telling us that you equally have concerns with the Electoral Commission.
Politics.
Honorable.
Sometimes it's just interesting the way.
So it's not true.
The way we do this to ourselves. Look, we have a topic. Your main concern is the Chief Justice's decision that no prima facie case was made against the Electoral Commission. And I think that we should just focus on that because. He's throwing a lot of red herrings, and I'm surprised, you allowed him to do that. Some of the issues he raised, for instance, talking about transfer of votes. Votes are transferred, all the time in electoral processes. People request for it, and the Electoral Commission, from time to time, does that. What happens is that. After some time, people move. People move from region to different regions, or even from one constituency to the other. Right. And generally believe that on the day of the election, they cannot, go to that old constituency, and so they request for their votes to be transferred. And it's across the country. No constituency is denied. And so there are movements of, people from all over the country. And EC does this. I'm surprised my brother says that amounts to gerrymandering. I asked myself, is that what gerrymandering means? It has nothing to do with gerrymandering. Maybe go and find a different word. This is not gerrymandering. In gerrymandering, you are talking about manipulation of electoral boundaries. Yes. That is what it's called. If somebody is transferring his vote from Kumasi to Accra, that is definitely not gerrymandering. The Electoral Commission then set out to do that. But you know, I understand him in a way, because when you're in opposition, you have to flag every issue and make a mountain. If it's a molehill, you make a mountain out of it. And that's what the NDC succeeded in doing. You know, what happened, if we want to go back, you know, to history, for me, it's not necessary. I think what is good is that the Chief Justice saw the need to look at the petition in legal sense. And as we sit here, we don't know the petition, we don't know his reasons. All we have been told is that he said that the case brought against the Electoral Commission doesn't meet the minimum threshold for investigation to continue. And that is all we know. And so what about all this? You're talking about SAL,
and I'm sure you've heard that SAL conversation too. The fact that once it's out there that a group of people could not vote or were not allowed to vote in the last elections, then the chairperson should be taking responsibility for that.
Well, see, something I can understand. Then we have to be very consistent. That if you have a president supervising the reduction of cocoa prices for over 1 million Ghanaians, okay, from 3,500 to 2,500, we have a president who is supervising this. In fact, this was announced after, I believe, after the meeting. There was a cabinet meeting. So the president directed the Minister for Finance to come and address the people of Ghana to tell us that the cocoa farmers, the farm gate price should be reduced. Should the president resign? Should the president resign for that? So if you're going to do this, then everything can be stretched. That because you were heard of this, you did that, so you should be held responsible. There can be so many reasons. I mean, my brother Solo was talking about the fact that he would rather the president is blamed because he should have directed his local government minister, you know, to do the necessary.
You recall Godfrey Dami was on the floor of Parliament trying to explain how that difficulty came about in the South case. And so don't you see the need for the previous administration, the government, to take responsibility for that? In fact, the Chief Justice's opinion, I'm going by that green paper we all saw, he indicated that there were serious issues of administrative concern in his opinion, although, yeah, you know, the chairperson should not be held responsible for any of these.
Oh, have you seen the reasons? Because I haven't seen.
Oh, there's a green paper going around pointing to the fact that yes, well,
I haven't seen it.
Well, okay, so there's no prima facie, but
me last night over this
but it says that there are serious administrative issues happening there too.
Yeah, I mean,
so don't you feel that that's where Solo is coming from? That, that the president should have, President Akufo Addo should take responsibility for knowing that you're going to create new districts, you're going to create new areas. You should have started that way in time.
Well, I mean, that is an argument that can be made. Now, you know, the horse has left the stables already. All these are issues, you know, when something happens months or years after the issue, you can always go back, oh, you should have done this, you should have done that. But so governance is a lot of moving parts. And so at the time, I'm sure there were valid reasons why this thing couldn't go on. But the truth is that I am happy that the CJ came to this conclusion, because you see, we started bastardizing our institutions with first the removal of Tokunu. And so this is very good for us as a country. I think that this protects our democracy because I think the president and his team, I'm talking about President Mahama and his team, they understand the mood of the Ghanaian people, in fact, even the international community, the removal, the kind of pressure that brought on us. The president and his team, I'm sure, and the whole architecture of our governance, you know, we've come to the conclusion that this is not the way to go. To remove the EC, and the other one was to remove the special prosecutor. You know, these are, you can say that one fighting corruption, one, you know, vehicle for valid elections. So if you remove all these people, then it means that you want to run aground the democratic institutions. Do you feel
that the Chief Justice should be taking credit for this?
Well, I mean, you can say that because in the end, the law gives the decision to the Chief Justice. And, you know, when it comes to these decisions, right, you have to look at the idiosyncrasies of the particular judge. And for us as lawyers and law students, you know, there's the idiosyncrasies of judges which, you know, eventually becomes the law. And so, yes, so long as in his view, this doesn't rise to the level that needs further investigation, then we can say that we can give him credit for that. Anybody who wants to take credit can take credit. The president, my brother is saying that, yeah,
yes, the NDC will come to
he wants to give the credit to him. Well, for me, I think that so long as this protects our institutions, so long as this protects our democracy, whoever wants to take credit can take credit. Because in the end, if we continue to bastardize our institutions like that, we weaken our democracy, and that is not good for us. And if you followed me when this whole argument was going on, I said that, look, I'm one of the people who will not in any day support in 2029 when NPP assumes power, support the removal of any chief justice who would have been appointed by the NDC at the time. Because I don't think that it helps, you know, our democracy.
Okay, this is what I wanted. Okay. So were you waiting for him to get bounce on him? So you're waiting to bounce on him. Oh my goodness.
You know what? Bless.
Yeah.
You see, transfers.
Because now you don't decide who's
no, see that.
I'll give
the transfers is perfect. It's at the behest of the person who is requesting, right? That's not what we are talking about. Bless, you have not requested for transfer. And somebody transfer you. What does that mean?
But he says
Council, that's what we are talking about. We are saying that, no, you cannot. It's illegal.
It never happens.
It's illegal. If I don't request for transfer, an electoral commission have no power under this constitution to transfer me.
But you reported that to the electoral commission.
Well, I'm saying that. I'm saying that, yes. And that is what we call gerrymandering. Do you know what gerrymandering is? Not only electoral boundaries. When you are doing gerrymandering,
so if you shift the
demographic of the people to gain political advantage over your opponent, that's gerrymandering. And that's what they were trying to do. To shift, for instance, they lost some polling stations, constituencies, just over 1,000 votes. So if they are managed to dislodge 2,000 people from that area, they are going to win.
This happened in only one. This happened in only one constituency.
Not one.
It happened in one.
So how do you know that if the EC, how does the EC know that the 2,000 she's moving are for NDC? I mean,
Council, you know,
my brother, I don't understand why
we're looking at the figures.
Okay.
And we know why they were doing those kind of movement. They were targeting Pusiga. They put their candidate there because they know that was a pliable constituency and they could easily get it by moving. Yes, Bono, they have about 3 constituencies in Bontani. They were targeting time. They wanted to go in there. They were targeting another constituency in Hafo region. And they were doing it. So all these constituencies, they were moving. I'm saying that.
I get that.
These people, we saw through all their tricks and we stopped them. That's why they lost massively in that election, because the gerrymandering thing they were going to do in that register didn't materialize.
Okay, so let me
quick one. This attempt to create the impression that once the head of an institution, state institution is removed, it weakens our democracy, must not be entertained. It is the reason why the constitution provides avenue for removal of a person. The person is not performing. There must not be any. In fact, if all of them are not performing and we must get rid of them in a day, they must do it. Because what's the point? You are put there to behave in a certain manner. And if you are doing otherwise, why must you be there? So that one, we must not entertain it. I would support, for instance, the removal of the Chief Justice. The reason why people are having issues with this...
He says, I mean, we shouldn't be bastardizing our state.
No, but she is not an institution.
Messing up.
It's an individual in the institution. If an individual is misbehaving, you take the person out and replace the person. We have a lot of people in this country. It's the reason why he is even a lawyer. He qualifies to be if he goes to the bench, he can be a CJ. You understand?
Oh, you want him to go for CJ?
If he wants to, why not? Wouldn't he be better off?
He can decide to go to the bench, then we'll come for the seats. We are interested in this.
So that you come.
You understand? So for me, public servants must not be protected on the whims and caprices of international communities who always write reports that we do not know where their interest or pleasure lies. It's not that they are doing any legitimate work. Sometimes they have a huge interest in that particular sector, and that person is protecting their interest. You understand?
Okay. Yeah, Blessed. Yeah, I think we should be very proactive in our constitutional development instead of being reactionary. You see, when Tokono was removed, there was a lot of noise about the establishment of Premier Fashi, the processes and what has to be outlined. You see, there is this unlimited room that is created for the determination of what constitutes prima facie. We don't know. So few people will go into a room, look at a petition. I think that because of what happened during the Tokono's case,
you feel there must be transparency?
There should be a certain consideration, certain guidelines that people can actually walk through, understand that yes, per this process. At some point, the woman was complaining that the outcome was not given to her. She didn't know what actually constituted the so-called prima facie. I think that for the sake of transparency and disclosure's sake, going forward, we need to make some amendment in our constitution so that there will be some clarity in these processes, because we are not before a shrine where few people will go into a room and at the end of the day the decision is communicated to us.
I guess if you're a lawyer, you should know some basics as to what will constitute face value evidence.
No, you see, it is not for lawyers and it's not for judges. Ghana is not a legal community. It is for everybody. It is for the people of this country, because at the end of the day, if the people of this country decide to withdraw their trust and confidence from the establishment, it becomes useless. You understand? It is our trust and confidence that sustain it.
But that will bring the temptation of trying people in the public, isn't it? Not in public per se. Not in public per se. Not in public per se. But you see, Tokono had issues with the fact that the processes she wasn't following through. So I'm saying that if we say that we have established prima facie, then there should be a certain building blocks that you cross this, because if it becomes why we need the judges and we need the lawyers to interpret that for us.
There are no safeguards in the Constitution. That is why I'm saying that discretion that has to be exercised by the Council of State is unlimited.
I get it.
And there is no requirement that a Council of State should be lawyers. Some don't even have any legal understanding. But there are people establishing the so-called prima facie, which is a legal requirement. You understand? So I think there should be. I am saying this because that was the concern Tokono raised in her argument. You understand? So I think we need to establish that. But because it's over, we are quiet until another issue surfaces, and then we become very proactive.
Okay, I get that. Maybe we'll spare the special prosecutor. Let's deal with the second.
I remind the special prosecutor that my petition is still pending with him.
Oh,
I petitioned him to investigate the vice president, the former vice president. He has done nothing about it.
Dr. Bawumia?
Yes.
The flag bearer of the NPP?
Yes. It's still with him. He must not pretend as though he doesn't have that petition. Very important. I spend my meager resources to do whatever I did.
Oh, Basolo, you have money, so...
I don't have money. I don't have money. I'm not in government.
You're an opposition figure.
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.